Let's learn about democracy and monarchy. Two types of government. Human beings are social creatures. We socially interact in our society. And those interactions can be good and bad. Let's focus on the bad. Human beings are capable of evil. We lie, we cheat, we steal. We need rules to keep us in our place. And this can be observed by simply watching 4-year-olds in a playground. When they create games and play games, they know to establish rules because even 4-year-olds know that other 4-year-olds can lie, cheat, and steal. They can mistreat each other. They can be unkind. They can treat people unfairly. And so they know to establish rules. So obviously adults in a society know that the society needs rules, and thus governments are created to make rules. Just like rules in a classroom, rules on the playground, a society in general also needs rules to make sure that everyone is playing by the rules and everyone is treating each other fairly. Also, the governments that we'll talk about, democracies and monarchies, will make decisions. How does the government make decisions about the direction of the playground, the direction of the classroom, the direction of the society in general? Which way will they go? How will they develop? Will they go to war or not go to war with the opposing playground? So what are the types of government? We'll talk first about democracy, coming from the Greek word demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning rule or power or strength. So simply, in a democracy, the power, the rules are all decided by the people. And the simple way of doing this is the people vote to make decisions. The people vote to make the rules. So if we look at a society, let's imagine we have 100 people in the society. The way that it works in a direct democracy is majority rule, meaning if you get the most votes, you win. So let's say that this group has 51 people who say yes, and the bottom group has 49 people that say yes. The group at the top, they win through majority rule. So they rule. That is democracy. The people rule. One of the small problems here is, yes, the people at the top are experiencing democracy. People are ruling. People at the bottom, not so much. They did not get what they wanted. They did not get the rules that they wanted. They did not get the decisions that they wanted. I thought this was a democracy. So one of the safeguards to make sure that democracies work and are fair is that one of the parts of writing the rules, if you are the winner, is that the rules must treat people equally because there are always going to be a minority. We do not want the tyranny of the majority. We do not want mob rule, where the people in the majority rule over the people in the minority. So what is supposed to happen in a democracy is that there will be equality. So just because you got the most votes and you get to rule, your rules, your decisions must follow the principle of equality and that everyone must be treated equal. Another part or characteristic of a democracy to make sure the thing doesn't go off the rails and that the majority is not abusing the minority is that there is also the rule of law, which is very similar to equality. It simply means, and we'll talk more about this later this year, is that the number one rule is that we all must follow the rules. That is the rule of law. The rule is you must follow the law. Everyone is equal under the law. The law applies to everyone. Just because you're in the majority doesn't mean you get away with breaking the rules. Just because you're elite or rich doesn't mean that you can get away with breaking the rules. The rule is the law, applies to everyone. And so if you have equality and rule of law, there should be a fail-safe, a safeguard, a protection for the people who believe they are being ruled, the people that are not winning the votes, the people in the minority. That doesn't always happen. We do not always or really ever reach a state of perfection, and we'll talk more about that. Is this system perfect? No, it is not. But as we will talk about in the coming days, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. We cannot achieve perfection. There are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. We just try to do the best we can do, and maybe a democracy is the best that we can do. Monarchy! Coming from the Greek word mono, meaning one, and kratos, meaning rule. So one person rules. And the most perfect example of this, or common example of this, is a king. The king makes all of the decisions. The king makes all of the rules. And for the most part, in your academic career, you've been told, this is bad. We should have the people ruling. Well, let's flip that on its head and maybe look at monarchy from a different lens. One person makes all the decisions. One person makes all the rules. Sometimes one person is wiser than the masses. For example, a business CEO This is more of your modern version of a monarchy. The guy that owns the business, it's his business. He makes the decisions about his business. It's his business and only his business. You don't vote. You don't make the decisions. And I'll give you more examples of this, but this is basically the same thing. Tesla, you name your business. Everything from the smallest business to your local restaurants, like Beer Barrel. The owner of Beer Barrel makes all of the decisions. If he decides on September 16th that it's time to roll out the Oktoberfest menu and start serving the Wiener Schnitzel, that's his decision. He rules. Not you. The employees don't vote and say, we got to wait till October 1st before we start serving the Wiener Schnitzel. No, it is his decision. And he makes a decision based on what he knows and what he believes will happen. Same thing with a monarchy. The king makes a decision based on what he thinks is the best direction for the nation, not necessarily what the people want. The people do not govern in a monarchy. And for the most part, in your academic career and throughout America, we view this as bad. We need to make the decisions. The people, this is our country. A country of the people, by the people, for the people. The people should make the decisions on the rules. The people should make the decisions on the decisions, whether to go to war or not, raise taxes or not. In a monarchy, it is not up to you. If the king raises taxes, so be it. If the king declares war, then so be it. And yes, there are some drawbacks to that. But there's also some positives. In a monarchy, people don't fight. They don't argue, and I'll talk more about this. And that might be appealing to some people. Wait a second, we're not going to fight with each other? I don't have to fight with my neighbor? We're not flaming each other on social media? Not in a monarchy, because most of the stuff that you fight about is the decisions and directions of the country, and in a monarchy, you don't get to make those decisions. You don't have any say in that. And if you have no say, and you don't vote, then you don't fight. Let's go further into this. So in a monarchy, you leave the decision making up to the king. You leave the rule making up to the king. You're not involved in that. Same thing. You're not designing the next Cybertruck. You leave that up to the boss. The CEO, the business owner, he makes all the calls. He writes all the rules. You just show up. In a monarchy, you just show up. You live your life. Do your thing every day. You don't have to worry about, should we go to war or not? Should we raise taxes or not? It's not up to you. Should we take guns away? Should we make guns free? It's not up to you. It's up to whatever the king says. You just go live your life. Don't worry about these big, important decisions. In a monarchy, there's no Republicans. There's no Democrats. You're not fighting red people versus blue people. You're not flaming each other online because you don't vote. You have no say. We are not divided in a monarchy. We have political parties because they want to have power and they want to make decisions. That does not happen in a monarchy. And so we are not divided based on political views. Some people might find that appealing. And if we don't have the elephants and the donkeys, those don't exist, and your political views don't matter because you don't vote, then all those arguments are gone. Hey, imagine a Thanksgiving dinner where your uncle is not arguing with your sister, where people aren't fighting over each other. That could happen in a monarchy because there's no reason to fight. Uncle can just watch football. Sister can just jump on her TikToks. There's no political thing to argue about because you have no say. TV news doesn't really exist. Why would you need the news of Fox News or MSNBC to come on and start firing you up about the latest thing? Because the latest thing doesn't matter because you don't vote on the latest thing. What's the new crisis? It doesn't matter. You don't decide what decision is going to be made about the crisis. You don't need to know about the crisis. You don't need to be fired up about the crisis. Your uncle doesn't have to watch Fox News all day. Your sister isn't glued to MSNBC all day because it doesn't matter. She has no say. She doesn't need an opinion. You're just chilling in a monarchy. You're just chilling. We'll go a little bit further into this. So all of the stress in a monarchy is on the king. He has to make the right decisions. He has to make the right rules. The pressure's on him. It's not on you. To articulate this or illustrate this, imagine the king, rather than running a nation, is running a McDonald's. He's the owner. His life is on the line. His career, his investment. If the McDonald's doesn't sell enough cheeseburgers, he goes broke. He's got to make sure that he makes the right decisions with his menu. He has to make the right decisions about who to hire, how much to pay them, how to make all of the business transactions, where to get the cheeseburgers from, where to get the buns from, when to open, when to close, what time of the day do we need to clean the toilets in the bathroom, how to treat the customers. All that's on him. All the pressure, all the stress is on him. Making sure people are doing their job, it's all on him. You, in this nation or in this situation, in this monarchy, you're just chilling. You don't have to write any rules. You're just an employee. You show up, you make the fries, you get your paycheck, you go home. You don't have to make any tough decisions. You don't have to think about what are the right rules. You don't think about how are we going to deal with supply chain? What's going to happen with the tariffs and beef prices? Has the bacon been sitting out too long? Is it time to stop serving the fillet of fish? What are the sales on the chicken nuggets this month? You don't have to make any decisions. You just show up and cook the fries. That's a monarchy. You don't have to fight with anybody. You are just chilling, sticking fries in your face. Let's go even further with this in our defense of monarchy. The king makes all the decisions at McDonald's. Just like a business CEO. Imagine, though, on the right side, McDonald's was not run by the owner. All the decisions were not made by the manager. Imagine McDonald's was not a monarchy, which it is. Imagine McDonald's was a democracy. The people rule. The employees all get to vote on every decision. The employees get to vote on every rule that is made. So on the left hand, we have a typical McDonald's, which is pretty much a monarchy where the boss calls the shots. On the right is our theoretical idea of what if McDonald's was more like a democracy. And we're doing this to see if, which is more productive? A monarchy or is a democracy a better system of government? And we're using McDonald's fast food to illustrate this. And we want to ask the question of, and maybe you think about it yourself right now before we go into it, which one do you think is going to be more productive? Not necessarily more fair, not necessarily more equal, but which one is going to make more money? Folk fait les champs. It's Haitian Creole for must make money. What do you think? Monarchy or democracy? So if we look at the monarchy, the king, and we probably should have done Burger King. That would have been a better example. But regardless, who's going to make better decisions? Well, the king, the monarch, the guy that's been running the McDonald's for the last 20 years, he's been doing this for quite a while. You could argue he's probably an expert at running McDonald's. He knows all the ins and outs. He's dealt with thousands of employees. He's dealt with thousands of beef distributors. He knows how everything works in the fast food game. He's been there, he's done that. He knows what decisions to make, when to make them, and he can make them probably pretty rapidly because he's done it before. It's what he does. It's his living. It's his profession. He's probably an expert. And when he makes decisions, he makes those decisions based on one thing. I got to make money. He doesn't make decisions based on, is this fair? Is this equal? He makes decisions on what's the most productive, what's the most lucrative. Because if he makes the wrong move, he loses. He loses his McDonald's. He goes out of business. He has a lot of incentives to make sure that he makes the right decisions, that he makes well-researched decisions, that he makes productive decisions. Everything is on the line. And on the line is being productive and making money. It's a pretty good system. Not a lot of holes in that. Now, in terms of equality and fairness, that's a whole other conversation. But in terms of building your nation, making your nation strong and productive, King's got some strength there. All right, let's flip over and look at the democracy. And let's imagine, okay, how's this thing being run? What's going on inside the store every day when all of the employees, the 16-year-old teenager and the 35-year-old career worker, they are having to get together and make decisions? And so every decision has to be voted upon, like a democracy. How much are we going to charge for the Big Mac? All right, everybody, let's get together and vote. $4, $5, that's too high. Right, $2, well, that's too low. We may not make enough money. Well, that's not fair. Some people need cheaper cheeseburgers because they can't afford it. Well, it's not about being fair. We've got to make money. You have to vote on every decision. What's going to be the working shifts? How long are we going to stay open? Well, I'm an early bird. Yeah, but I like nights. We should be open late at night and not open in the mornings. All of these decisions will all have to be voted on. And guess what? People are going to fight and argue about what they're going to do. What are the rules going to be for the employees? What's going to be the pay for employees? Who gets paid more? Who gets paid less? Who are we going to hire? Who are we going to fire? What are we going to serve? When are we going to serve it? Every decision, every rule has to be voted on. People are going to disagree. They might like each other at McDonald's. They may love each other. They may have a unity at McDonald's. But when it comes to different beliefs, there's going to be arguments. There's going to be fights. How do you think that back room's going to work? Compared to McDonald's in the back room, cooking the cheeseburgers where you don't have to vote. You don't have any say. You're not fighting with the other employees in the back over a decision because neither of you get to make a decision in a monarchy. You don't get to decide when to cook the fries. You just do what you're told. Over in a democracy, everybody is constantly fighting with each other so that their side can win. Maybe the older employees want a certain set of rules and the teenagers want a different set of rules. And so what you get is a divided McDonald's. You don't have Republicans and Democrats at Mickey D's, but you got the teens versus the older workers. And because we're constantly having to vote on things, it takes a lot of time. All the decisions, all the rules that get created, it can't be quick because everybody's got to vote. Everyone's got to discuss. Everyone's got to debate. Whereas over at Monarch McDonald's, the king can act rapidly, can respond quickly. Any type of crisis that happens, any problem that occurs, he can address that problem pretty quickly because he gets to decide. A school bus just pulled up with 50 soccer kids, a whole soccer team. What are we going to do? All right, well, let's vote. Let's figure out a plan of how long is that going to take? The king says, all right, everybody, breaks over. I need you on the fryer. I need you cooking the cheeseburgers. Start whipping it together now. The king can act rapidly. Democracy is much slower. Oh, by the way, in democracy, guess what? Now you're stressed out. Remember when you're chilling at the McDonald's when it was run by the king? You didn't have to worry about the decisions or the rules. Well, now that you're making the decisions, now that you're making the rules, it's all on you. You want to keep McDonald's going? You want to keep it afloat? You want to keep making money? You better make good decisions. You better think about those decisions. And when you think about tough decisions, you get stressed out. Now you got a whole back room filled of stressed out employees fighting and arguing with each other. Welcome to America, or welcome to McDonald's. That's what you get with democracy. Which one do you want? Which one's going to be more productive? Boy, monarchy doesn't look so bad at times. Now there's going to be obviously some flaws in monarchy, and I've painted it or illustrated it in a very glowing light. But it is worth considering. So there is democracy, monarchy. Hopefully you thought about some of the higher level ideas, but the basic idea is this. A democracy is a type of government where the people rule. We need a government because people don't follow rules. Human beings, contrary to the beliefs of Rousseau, human beings are flawed, and we can be cheaters, manipulators, bad dudes. So we need rules. We also need governments to make decisions. In democracy, the people make them. And in monarchy, one person makes them. Very similar to a modern business with a CEO.